Hello and welcome to When They Popped. I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Mary.
And today we are a little brain dead, but the countdown to Vegas is on. We're dying to know what you guys are going to wear, what you're going to pack. It's all we can really think about.
I honestly haven't recovered from Pop 2000, so I'm working on a mental shift, but
our depression from post Pop 2000 is quickly replaced with panic for Vegas. Panic! 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 You know, one thing about Howie's interview that I really appreciated that, he did with us is he sings Backstreet Boys songs like in his everyday life. Like, how I like to sing things sometimes?
He did it too.
He did it too. And that just made my heart soar,
We love Howie D.
We love Howie D and we love you guys. But because we're going to Vegas, we're not going to have a new episode next Monday. It's going to come later in the week because we're going to be bringing you guys live updates from the ground. So just be aware.
Yeah, there's going to be multiple episodes that week, kind of like when we went to Cancun and did a couple episodes while we were there, live and unhinged right after the fact. So hope you enjoyed those because more of that to come. But are we ready to get into today's topic?
Let's do it. Who are we talking about, Mary?
Well, today we're diving deep into the incredible career of Hayden Panettiere. From child soap opera star to teen pop sensation to superhero on primetime TV, Hayden has been a fixture in pop culture for over 2 decades now. You know her as cheerleader Claire Bennett from Heroes, country music star Juliette Barnes from Nashville, or from her early 2000s pop music career. So today we're going to tell the story of Hayden's fascinating journey through Hollywood and how she became one of the most recognizable faces of Y2K pop culture. So let's start at the very beginning. Hayden Leslie Panettiere was born on August 21st, 1989. Wow, she's only 2 years older than us. In Palisades, New York. Her mother, Leslie Vogel, was actually a former soap opera actress herself, which, that definitely explains how Hayden got into the business so young. We're talking incredibly young here. Hayden started appearing in commercials when she was just 11 months old. Her first one being for Play School Toy Train.
Oh my God, remember the Play School brand? Play, SKOOL. Like, oh my God, that logo is like burned in my brain.
Could never forget. I wonder if it's still a thing.
It is. I feel like my niece has Play School toys still.
Good to know that Play School is still thriving. But yeah, so Hayden was literally a baby when she started working. And I just bet she was the cutest little baby, probably with blonde hair and big blue eyes. I bet she was freaking adorable. So she's working. She's 11 months old, tale as old as time. But her real breakthrough came in 1994 when she was cast as Sarah Roberts on the long-running ABC soap opera, One Life to Live. Talk about iconic. That's like one of the most iconic soap operas to exist. And I don't even watch soap operas, and I know that. So she was only 5 years old when she started this role, which is just mind-blowing when you think about it. Hayden has always been very reflective about these early years, saying, quote, "I was lucky enough to start working at a very young age, but it meant I had to grow up really fast. The soap opera world doesn't baby you. You have to memorize pages of dialogue and hit your emotional marks, just like any adult actor," end quote. Again, another example where we're seeing child actors, grow up so fast. As I said, One Life to Live was a huge deal. It had been on air since 1968 and was one of the major daytime dramas alongside, General Hospital and All My Children. And Hayden's character, Sarah, it wasn't just some small part. She was a reoccurring character in the show, and her character dealt with some pretty heavy storylines for a child actor. What's even more interesting is that Hayden was working in this very adult professional environment from just such a young age. As she put it, soap operas are like boot camp for actors. You're doing multiple episodes a week, so there's no time to mess around. You learn your lines, you show up, you deliver. It was incredible training. And that just made me think of when we talked to Annalyn McCord, how she talked about her soap opera schedule. And it was just there was a certain period of time where it was just she is shooting. She couldn't do anything else.
Yes. And how formulate, just how much more of a day job it is almost. You go, you shoot, you do your thing, and then you go.
Yeah. It seems like they have soaps down to a science at this point.
Jesse McCartney also, wasn't he in a soap opera? I feel like That came up in our conversation with Greg, like how they were working kids. Like they knew how it worked because of their soap opera, like boot camps.
It's probably like incredible training and an incredible way to like foray into the industry.
Totally.
And Hayden clearly had the soap gauntlet down because she went on to play Lizzie Spaulding in another soap opera series, CBS's Guiding Light from 1996 to 2000. And while on Guiding Light, Hayden's character Lizzie battled leukemia. And the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society actually gave Hayden its Special Recognition Award for drawing the attention of daytime viewers to the disease and for improving national awareness. Like, what a huge honor to get when you're, 10? I have to go back and watch her on that because I'm sure she did a great job.
So before we talk about her Disney Channel years, which I'm just like chomping at the bit to talk about, Hayden had such an iconic role in a movie that everyone listening to this podcast better know and love. And I'll give you one hint. I'm a beautiful butterfly.
Finally, I'm a beautiful butterfly.
Yeah, I'm talking about A Bug's Life by Pixar. I had no idea that Hayden voiced little Dot, Princess Dot. She gets stolen by like the mean flying ants or whatever those wasps are.
I had no idea either. This movie was so formative for me, and I feel like Dot had a really cute voice.
The cutest voice. Like, it was like a Boo type character in Monsters, Inc. Like, Dot was that girl. And this movie was such a huge hit. God, I remember thinking that I wanted to be an ant so badly when I was little because I loved looking underneath and like seeing their little like tunnels that they build and how they'd collect the food. God, I was so obsessed with it. So anyways, this film grossed a record $45.7 million during the 5-day Thanksgiving holiday weekend. I mean, it just did huge. It beat out Babe, Pig in the City. Mary and I were just talking about Babe the other day.
Rip.
Mary had to tell him. I was like, Mary goes, that'll do something.
That'll do donkey.
Mary goes, that'll do donkey. From Shrek. She was referencing Shrek.
That'll do, donkey. That'll do.
And I was like, oh, did they take that from Babe? Because I'm pretty sure he goes, oh, that'll do, pig, that'll do.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
And I was like, oh, have you ever seen Babe? I randomly think about it all the time. She goes, yes, and I never want to see it again.
It's sad. It's too sad
so
for my sensitive
sad.
self. I can't.
No, it is so freaking sad. But it was like midnight after the Pop 2000 show. We're like stuffing sushi in our face and we're talking about Babe. Anyways, I think Pig in the City was the sequel. So, kind of like Home Alone goes to New York. Okay, but this movie, Back to a Bug's Life, it also beat out the Rugrats movie, which was a huge deal in my household. Mm-hmm. I think we saw that multiple times. And this 5-day Thanksgiving opening weekend gross surpassed the previous record holder, which was 101 Dalmatians.
That movie scared the shit out of me.
Really? Like, because Cruella is scary?
And like her scary henchmen that went after the doggies.
I know. Luckily, no one wants to wear a coat of pug hair.
Oh my God. Imagine.
If Cruella went after pugs, she would be like public enemy number one,
Seriously. Oh my God.
Not to say that we're happy she went after Dalmatians.
No, it was upsetting.
There's also a pug in the opening scenes when they're like all the dogs that look like their owners.
Oh,
the woman with the pug always makes me smile. I love it so much. Okay, so obviously this movie is a huge smash. Fun fact, the movie was nominated for a Grammy, which is really exciting.
Randy Newman
and Alan Menken. What would we do without them?
Nothing.
So Hayden, in reflecting on her Pixar experience, she said that it was such an incredible experience, but the Pixar team really treated her like a real actress. It was like her first taste of this like big budget film. So, she has this soap opera thing behind her. She has a Pixar movie under her belt. Like, what is she going to do next? The girl has the world at her fingertips.
So what's next? By 2000, she's ready to make the jump to feature films where she's not like playing a bug in a cartoon. And she landed what would become her first major movie role in Remember the Titans. Now, just a reminder, she was still only 11 at this time. And it goes without saying, this film was absolutely massive. It starred Denzel Washington as a high school football coach in 1970s Virginia, dealing with racial integration. And Hayden played Cheryl Yost, the daughter of the white assistant coach, and she had some really memorable scenes, especially those that showed her relationship with the football players. And as expected, working with Denzel Washington was a formative experience for young Hayden. She recalled, quote, "Denzel treated me like a real actress, not just like a kid. He would give me acting notes and really talk to me about the craft. That meant everything to a young actor trying to prove herself," end quote. And I mean, something is that she really seems to be focusing. She really just wants to be treated like a real actress. Like, even though she's a kid, in a lot of these quotes and things that we're seeing her say, all she wanted was just to be recognized for her craft and not her age. And being thrown into the mix with Denzel is
great way to do it. Earn you some credibility.
I know. And even the director, Bose Yankin, later said about casting Hayden, quote, "We needed someone who could hold their own against these older actors and football players. Hayden had this natural confidence and professionalism that you rarely see in child actors. She wasn't intimidated by anyone on set," end quote. And honestly, envious of her confidence at 11 years old.
Did you see this movie? I never saw it, and everyone talks about it as like their favorite movie ever.
I saw, like, I'm the type of girl that unless it's like School of Rock, I've like only seen it once.
What? Is that your favorite movie?
It's one of my like most comforting movies.
Wait, really? I say you're tacky and I hate you like 5 times a day.
You're tacky and I hate you.
So one of the kids, can't remember his name in the movie, was in my law school class.
What?
Yeah, it was the one who was security. And he was in The Sopranos, too. And he just got married to the girl from School of Rock. So he married one of...
I feel like I saw that was a news story.
Yeah. So Brad and I both had class with him.
And now he's a lawyer?
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing, but yeah, I love School of Rock.
Imagine having that as your fun fact when you start your first day at a new job.
I mean, not a bad one to have, honestly. But we talked about how amazing A Bug's Life did. It got 45.7 million during its first weekend. Well, Remember the Titans was even crazier. It grossed over 136 million worldwide. It's one of those movies that became like a cultural touchstone, kind of like you said, Kelsey, like everyone's like, it's our favorite movie ever, especially for sports fans and, you know, a lot of us growing up in the early 2000s.
So she was 11 in 2000, so she was older than us.
Oh, yes. She's 2 years older than us.
So, and like 2 years when we're like 9 years old is like an eternity. Like she was like a cool older girl.
She was an old girl, like doing old girl stuff, like for sure.
Which is crazy when you think about it. So by the time the Disney Channel original movie Tiger Cruise rolled around in 2004, she was like solidified as like a cool girl of the early 2000s. I wanted her wardrobe so badly. I mean, early 2000s Disney Channel original movies, we've talked about them so much, the impact that they made on all of us, how a part of our culture and learning and like sort of social sphere they were. Well, Tiger Cruise was a really interesting one because this was sort of my first real introduction to Hayden personally, because like I said, I never saw Remember the Titans, but I remember her being around. Like I remember seeing her face and like recognizing her. So when this movie rolled around, I was like, oh, like she's super talented. She's so pretty.
So pretty.
I was obsessed with her hair. Like she's just stunning. Blonde with like those bright eyes. She was so tan. She had like perfect teeth. And I was like, why do you have perfect teeth as a teenager? That's not fair. But she was just like magnetic, just so gorgeous. And Tiger Cruise was a really interesting Disney Channel original movie. We know they sometimes tackled really difficult subjects. And this one was about like army brats. Tiger Cruise is like where like, I guess like, I don't want to misspeak, but it's a bunch of like army kids. And I had no idea what an army brat was. And I was really jealous. I wanted to be called a brat.
Oh my God, the original Brat.
I was in my Charlie XCX brat era back when Tiger Cruise came out because I wanted to be an army brat. So this dealt with like military families and how difficult it is to be uprooted so frequently, especially when you're young and in that really tender age. But they approached it in a really, you know, as always, an age-appropriate way for Disney Channel. I love Tiger Cruise, but it wasn't one of those ones that I would like rewatch over and over because it was a little bit heavier versus like a Cadet Kelly where I'm like, oh, I want to watch I'm a one-girl revolution.
Right.
Ribbon dance, like, every day.
And I'm a one-girl revolution. Oh my God. Rewatching the ribbon dance scenes are like so wild.
Well, she started with ribbons and then she moved her way up to guns. So, like,
big steps. So Tiger Cruise is kind of where Hayden dipped her toe into Disney, and she was not done with Disney, and Disney was not done with her. My real first memory of Hayden, besides like what you said, seeing her around, knowing she was an it girl, was in 2005 when she was cast in another iconic Disney movie. But this one was a theatrical release, Ice Princess. And oh my gosh, when I tell you this is a star-studded cast, we had Hayden. We had the late, great Michelle Trachtenberg, Joan Cusack, and Kim Cattrall. Like, on top of that, there was an elite soundtrack that accompanied this movie, including a song by Hayden called I Fly. Now, obviously, this is Ice Princess. It's about ice skating, and the role required months of intensive training. And Hayden dove headfirst into getting it right. She said she trained for months, and she just wanted to do as much of the skating herself, without her double. But she really enjoyed the challenge of learning a completely new skill. And I always wondered if they were the ones skating in it. And I liked to see that at least she was out there somewhat. You never know. But
these sports movies always made me feel like Brink was the same way. I was like, oh, rollerblading is going to be my life. Skating is my life. After Ice Princess, I was like, oh, I'm going to be an ice skater. And then I'd go to the ice skating rink and I'd be like, wow, This is so hard. They make it look so easy. I just love their outfits is what I really think drew me in.
So cute. And my really good friend, Stephanie, that actually co-hosted our Stripped episode with me, was a figure skater. And so we watched this movie into oblivion. But the executives were really happy with Hayden during this period. Disney executives, they said she brought her maturity to Disney. She could handle both the lighter Disney moments and the more serious dramatic beats. The director of the film just praised her commitment. Apparently, Hayden threw herself into the training with incredible determination. And she understood that the physicality of the role was just as important as the emotional arc, and she became a genuinely skilled skater for the film. I think that's a pretty strong endorsement. I was very impressed by that. And while we mentioned Hayden's appearance on the Ice Princess soundtrack, let's talk a little bit more about her brief but memorable foray into pop music. In 2005, she released Wake Up Call. You finally started to wake up. This is your wake up call. Kelsey, I feel like you told me you don't know this song.
I was not a Hayden music girl, to my chagrin. How did I miss this?
There wasn't much. It had its time on Radio Disney.
I blame it on Radio Disney. I could not stand that it was an AM radio station. So it was always fuzzy.
Yes.
I just cannot deal with that. So I feel like I missed a lot of great songs because I was I'd rather listen to Kiss or something with top 40 hits. So I missed a lot of these really great little tween
Nikki
bops.
Cleary. I know, she was only on Radio Disney. There's some hidden gems there, but Wake Up Call had a perfect mid-2000s pop rock sound. Ron Fair, who is a music industry veteran himself, noted that Hayden had a good voice, but more importantly, she understood that music was just one part of her overall brand. She wasn't desperate to be a pop star, which actually made her more appealing as an artist. And I thought that was interesting and a unique perspective because it's honestly so rare during this era. I thought all the girlies were, really trying to get into the pop music game.
Well, I feel like this was when, post Hilary Duff, right? We talked a lot about this in Disney High. Hilary was the blueprint for this TV actress. Then you oh my God, what is the word I'm looking for?
You
transition into this new era of also being a pop star and you unlock all this merch opportunity. So I feel that makes sense. She's an actress. She's not a singer. Or if she didn't have any aspirations to be a singer, we saw that with Jennifer Love Hewitt too.
Except Bare Naked was a bop.
bare naked. Okay, that song did not miss me, luckily.
Good.
And she was obviously pre-Hillary Duff, so I'm not trying to say.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. Hillary was really the one that sort of like solidified it. And that's where I feel like the marketing team came in. And they were like, oh, this is an opportunity for us as Disney. Now that she did a couple Disney movies, like let's make her a pop princess. So that makes sense that it wasn't like totally authentic to her.
Right. She was trying to be authentic. She even said, I wasn't trying to be the next Britney Spears or anything. Music was just another way to express myself creatively. If people connected with it, great. If not, I still had acting. But she did have her big song, I mean, big is relative, but Wake Up Call. And the brand Candies announced that it was premiering an ad campaign for the single in July 2005. Candies provided some additional promotion for this song. It got TV time. The music video was cut into the advertisement. And Sebastian Stan, who actually portrayed Hayden's brother in The Architect, an indie limited release film she had actually worked on the year prior. But so Sebastian Stan starred as her love interest in Wake Up Call. A little bit more about The Architect. I had never heard of it before doing this research, but it's kind of cool. It starred Hayden, Sebastian Stan, Viola Davis, and Walter Goggins. Like, are you kidding me? Legends only.
I love him. Okay, back to Candies.
Yes.
Did you ever buy anything from Candies?
I don't think so, but I know Candies.
Right, but like, where did people go to buy candy?
Maybe like Macy's or something?
Oh, so it was like available in, because I'm like, I don't know that I've ever seen Candies out in the wild.
I don't think it was like it's a storefront, but I don't know. Don't quote me on that.
Interesting.
One last thing. Sorry, we have to mention, in 2007, she also recorded a cover for Cruella de Vil.
Back to Cruella.
Yeah. Oh my God. For Disneymania 5.
Until Cruella de Vil.
Kelsey and I have talked about this before. Like Disneymania albums solidified like who was important that year. And so if you were doing anything that year, you were on that Disneymania CD. And if you weren't, then you needed to do better next year.
You needed a new agent.
Step it up.
You needed some new representation because you
Big
weren't
time.
nobody. Nobody. You know who wasn't on Disneymania 5? Me.
We weren't doing much when we were 12, but it's fine.
We were not doing too much. Well, let's talk about what Hayden did next, because this is something that we all see on our feeds every now and then because it will forever be a part of our culture. And that was when Hayden appeared in Bring It On, All or Nothing. This was the third film of the Bring It On franchise. It came out in 2006. And this was kind of disappointing to everyone, I think, because it was like a direct-to-DVD release. And being attached to the Bring It On name, like, I don't know, I feel like we all expected something bigger. And Hayden was a big name at this time.
Yeah.
This one killed me because it was so obvious that she wasn't doing all of her own like athletics. I just loved it. I know it like gave low budget vibes, but anything that's Bring It On themed has my heart immediately.
The dance off.
We have to talk about the dance off. I mean, if we thought Julia Stiles in Center Stage was bad, like, this is just a totally different level. But I do think that this movie gave Hayden an opportunity to showcase more of that fun side of her. It's comedic. We could argue maybe it was camp. You know, it's camp.
Yes.
It's giving camp.
Do you think when we saw it back then, we thought it was lame?
No.
Yeah.
No, sorry. I thought you were going to say, did we think it was good?
No,
we thought it was lame, Mary.
I don't remember thinking it was lame until I saw like it being mocked on social media like years later. But maybe I
mean, you guys can't see what I'm doing, but I'm like doing like the chest thrusts. Like that was crazy. And like, I'm sorry, we had like Stomp the Yard and like Drumline and like Honey and like all these other dance movies, like Step Up.
We should do an episode on dance movies.
Oh my God, I would love that. But like they were like so good at dancing. So then to see doing your little breathing exercises was very funny. Anyways, that was that. I mean, I never skip a Bring It On, All or Nothing video. I don't know about you.
No.
So let's talk about what came after 2006. This was when Hayden really, I think this is when we could say she popped. Well, she had already popped within like our tween sphere. I would argue this is when she popped from like as an adult artist with the larger population, if you will, like the larger cultural zeitgeist. Okay, so we're past Bring It On, All or Nothing. This is when she lands the role of Claire Bennett on NBC's Heroes. Did you watch this show, Mary?
I was a casual viewer.
Okay, I did not watch. I was like too busy with like MTV Laguna Beach, like couldn't keep up. That and the OC, like I was busy. But this show was absolutely massive. It premiered in September 2006 and it drew over 14 million viewers for its premiere episode. I don't know of any show that has gotten that many, like for a first premiere. Are you kidding me? Bananas. So Hayden apparently knew like as soon as she read the script that this was going to be a really special show. The idea of these like ordinary people who discovered they have extraordinary abilities. And Claire is, once again, she's playing a cheerleader, our girl. And it was just a really fresh new show. I've seen some like thought pieces on Heroes and how it was like ahead of its time. People just really think back fondly of this show. So Hayden had this like girl next door appeal. And I'm curious, Mary, what were your thoughts when you were watching the show? Were you cheering for Claire as a casual viewer?
Yes. I mean, I just was very, I like shiny things. Like, she was really pretty. Like, she was the it girl. She was gorgeous. Like, of course, I'm cheering for Claire and I'm jealous of Claire. This was Save the Cheerleader, Save the World.
Save the cheerleader, save the world.
We say this is when she popped because this is really when she became this like fixture of a successful television show. And Claire became this like iconic TV character that every actor hopes to get at some point in their career. NBC executive Ben Silverman said that Hayden became the breakout star of Heroes because she represented everything the show was about, finding strength you didn't know you had. She was our secret weapon. Wow. I mean, imagine someone saying that about you with like such an amazing TV
Your
show.
Boss.
Dying. And she was in the show with Milo. I can't pronounce his last name.
Ventimiglia?
You guys know who we're talking about. Hot Milo.
Yes, but this was a little icky, was it not?
Okay, so this is icky, but why did everyone forget about this so soon? Because wasn't he just in that show like...
Yes, This Is Us.
This Is Us, and everyone's like obsessed with him. Well, apparently, behind the scenes, while Heroes was being shot, Hayden started dating Milo when she was 18 and he was 30.
Like, can you imagine as a 30-year-old what you would have in common with an 18-year-old in like a relationship? If it's your brother or it's your but in a relationship, like, isn't that crazy?
I mean, this is what Jerry Seinfeld used to do too. Like he dated like a 17-year-old or 18-year-old when he was like in his 30s at the height of his like Seinfeld fame, and no one ever talks about it.
I literally just learned about that like maybe 2 weeks ago.
It's so gross. And we just like let it, I don't know. I feel like when Anna Camp is in headlines right now because she is dating a younger woman. And I just feel like it's so uncommon for men to get any flack for it. Whereas women, I don't know, just so annoying. Anyways, we shouldn't have allowed that to happen, but it did.
No.
So let's talk about Heroes. This was the appointment television show of its time, meaning that people would like plan their weeks around watching Heroes on Monday night. I mean, we used to do that. We used to have to do that. My mom always tells me how for Saturday Night Live, like people would like rush to get home so they could be in front of their TVs to watch it. And to be a part of that is so, I feel like this might have been one of the last times because then TiVo took off and like streaming.
I really miss that,
You miss the appointment television. I kind of feel like we have that with Love Island. Like my whole TikTok right now is people looking out their apartment buildings and seeing the windows of other apartment buildings and everyone's watching Love Island at the same time. Mm-hmm. I am obsessed with that. So another iconic moment for Hayden, which was brought about by her Heroes fame, she landed one of those iconic Got Milk campaigns. And it was shot by Annie Leibovitz. I mean, just kind of like Disneymania 5. If you weren't shot by Annie Leibovitz, like, were you even a celebrity?
No.
Well, let's talk about what happened with Heroes. A lot of people say that it ended early because it was just like too ahead of its time. But the show's later seasons kind of just really struggled to capture that lightning in a bottle flair that the first couple seasons had. Entertainment Weekly's critic Ken Tucker wrote that Hayden Panettiere's Claire Bennett was a heart of Heroes, and even when the show's writing faltered in later seasons, she remained committed to the character and gave Claire depth and humanity. So the show only lasted for 4 seasons. It ended in 2010. Again, a lot of people lament over that. They're bummed because they felt like it deserved more. But, Hayden has apparently looked back on this experience pretty fondly and saying that those 4 years absolutely changed her life. She was the actress who was a former child actor to being a respected actor around this massive pop culture moment. So I think it's very cool that it brought her that experience.
Yeah, and she said Claire Bennett will always be a part of her. And it's always nice when you hear that a star, has such fond feelings for a former character. But after Heroes ended in 2010, Hayden faced that challenge that many young actors encounter. How do you follow up a role that, made you a household name? She was 21 years old at this point and, trying to transition from playing a teenager to taking on more adult roles. And so she tried her hand at comedy during this transition period. For example, in 2009, she appeared in I Love You, Beth Cooper. She played Beth Cooper, the popular girl who becomes the object of the nerdy valedictorian's affection. And Hayden was excited to dip her toe into comedy. She said, after years of intense drama on Heroes, I was ready to do something lighter. Beth Cooper was this iconic character from the book, and I wanted to bring her to life in a way that felt real and relatable, not just like a typical popular girl stereotype. And the director of I Love You, Beth Cooper, who happens to be Chris Columbus, who's known for Home Alone and the first 2 Harry Potter films, said he chose Hayden very specifically for this role. And what an iconic director, my God. He said, we needed someone who could make Beth Cooper both aspirational and accessible. Hayden had the beauty and popularity you'd expect, but also the acting chops to show the character's depth and vulnerability. She's beauty and brains and skill, baby. Of course, just continuously jealous of Hayden in this era. Unfortunately, this film did not hit in the box office, but again, it showed Hayden's range and her ability to handle, roles outside of drama. She reflected on this period. She said, not every role is going to be a huge hit, but each role teaches you something. And I think that's such a great perspective to have, even if the movie doesn't hit as hard as you would like.
I can imagine being I feel like I've seen a lot of this with Dakota Johnson talking about Madam Web and stuff, and even 50 Shades of Grey. I listened to Amy Poehler's Good Hang podcast.
Started to listen to that after you told me about it.
It's like a warm hug. I love it so much. But I thought it was interesting how Dakota was trying to be sometimes you sign on to a movie that you think is one thing, and then throughout the years that it takes to make a movie, it completely changes. And the end result that is released to theaters is nothing like the film that you signed on for. So I love that she has this perspective of it. Even if it didn't turn out the way she wanted it to, for whatever reason, just being grateful. I just think that's a really great outlook to have.
Same. And another movie she tried in this kind of transitional phase for her was the Lifetime movie Amanda Knox, Murder on Trial in Italy. And this came out in 2011. Again, another significant departure from the Claire Bennett character she had been doing the last 4 years. She was now playing a real person involved in a highly controversial and publicized murder case. This was international news, and taking this role showed that Hayden was willing to tackle, very serious, dramatic material. And that's, she said, kind of one of the reasons why she wanted to take it, because of how serious and how complex of an acting challenge it would be for her.
Back to her soap opera roots, being in a Lifetime original.
I know. And Lifetime loved Hayden, of course. Executive Tanya Lopez praised her work in Amanda Knox. They said she brought incredible depth and nuance to a very difficult role. She wasn't afraid to show Amanda's flaws and contradictions. It was a very mature performance. And also in 2011, Hayden appeared in the Scream sequel, Scream 4, playing Kirby Reed. And while this sequel to Scream received mixed reviews, the critics are going to critic, Hayden received pretty positive response and acclaim for her role and was considered to be a highlight of the film. So even if a film isn't hitting, she's usually coming out positively, which again is a win. This period was really about Hayden trying to establish herself as a serious actress beyond the superhero genre, beyond Disney Channel. She took on these various film and TV projects, but nothing quite reached the cultural impact of Heroes. And this is, actually pretty common for actors coming off major TV shows. It can be challenging for them to find that next defining role. But in 2012, Hayden landed what would become that next major role with a cultural impact. And that was Juliet Barnes on ABC's Nashville. This show was completely a different beast from Heroes. It was a musical drama set in the country music world of Nashville, Tennessee. Her portrayal of Juliet Barnes ultimately earned Hayden 2 Golden Globe nominations for Best Supporting Actress in a Series. Kelsey, did you watch Nashville at all?
I didn't. And again, I feel like I missed out, just like Heroes. Everyone talked about Nashville all the time.
I watched definitely season 1. We were, I think, maybe seniors at BU. No, juniors. I remember watching it and I had like a job interview in Nashville. So I was like, oh my God, I get to go to Nashville and I'm watching Nashville. But like, this was this was my big moment. But it was one of those shows, again, that I thought kind of started off really strong. But by like season 2, they lost me. But Hayden was really excited about this role. She said, Juliet Barnes is the complete opposite of Claire Bennett. While Claire was sweet and wholesome, Juliet was ambitious, flawed, and sometimes ruthless. Oh yes, she was ruthless. And the show's creator, Kelly Kahuri, specifically wanted Hayden to play Juliet. We need someone that could embody both the glamour and vulnerability of a country music superstar. Hayden had that star quality, but could also show pain and insecurity. She was perfect for the role. And she had a pretty iconic co-star in this, the Connie Britton. She is God, just perfect. And Connie raved about working with Hayden. She said Hayden brought professionalism and talent to Nashville. She really committed to learning country music and developing her voice. The dynamic between Raina, who was Connie Britton, and Juliet was central to the show, and Hayden made that relationship electric. And oh my God, their duet, Wrong Song, I listened to that on frickin' repeat. It was just a staple of this first season for me. The show ran for a total of 6 seasons, and Hayden reflected on the experience, quote, Nashville allowed me to grow as an actress and a person. Playing Juliet through 6 seasons, I got to explore so many different aspects of her character. Addiction, motherhood, love, loss. It was the role of a lifetime. Now, let's get into that a little bit. And Kelsey, you can jump in here whenever you see fit, but during the Nashville years, Hayden was also dealing with significant personal struggles that eventually also became very public. First, let's talk about her longest public relationship. In 2009, Hayden met the then world heavyweight boxing champion, Vladimir
Klitschko?
Vladimir Klitschko, at a book launch. They were both actually featured in Real Housewife of Beverly Hills alumni Diana Jenkins' book, Room 23, which there are some really huge red flags here. Go listen to any of Troy McKee's episodes about Room 23 because that is quite an interesting concept of a book. But this is how they met and how they started dating. So that was 2009. 2 years later, 2011, she announced they had split. They were long distance. He was like, in Russia or something? And they remained close friends, and it was just too much doing the distance. But flash forward to 2013, Hayden confirmed that they had resumed their relationship. And in October 2013, she announced that they were engaged. December 2014, Hayden gave birth to their daughter, Kaya. So after the birth of her daughter, Hayden experienced some severe postpartum depression, and she was incredibly brave in speaking about this. She said, postpartum depression hit me like a truck. I went from being on top of the world to feeling like I couldn't get out of bed. I realized I needed help, and there's no shame in that, end quote. And her struggles extended beyond postpartum depression to include battles with addiction. Kelsey, can you comment on this a bit?
Yeah. So in preparing for today's episode, I just did like a quick Google search on her, and it sounds like she's been really open about the struggles that she's facing. It's like in the news right now. Yeah, she mentioned she took a 4-year break from acting to focus on recovering from this like dark patch that she hit. She
That's
struggled
probably after Nashville, right? Was that?
Yes.
Okay.
From 2015 to 2018, she said that she struggled with alcohol, opioid addiction, and postpartum depression. So she took a break shortly after and then didn't come back to the big screen until 2023 when she reprised her iconic role as Kirby Reed in Scream 6. So she took some time off, and I just think it's really interesting that she is like kind of talking about it so openly, and hopefully that helps people who are going through something similar and need to know that there's like a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, and while this was going on, there was a Nashville showrunner, Marshall Herskovitz, commented about how they were trying to support Hayden during this period. And Marshall said Hayden's health and well-being were always our priority. We worked with her schedule and supported her through treatment. The show was important, but her recovery was more important. However, it came out later in a 2024 Messenger article that it wasn't really all sunshine and roses for Hayden on the Nashville set. She said it was actually very traumatizing for her to film Nashville because she felt like she was acting out her own life. She suggested that the show's writers often pulled from her real life while crafting Juliet's storylines, which is very emotionally traumatizing for her. She explained, quote, straight from the beginning, it was like, I'm dating a football player, and then Juliet dates a football player, and then they turned her into an alcoholic. Then they turned her to leaving her daughter and going to this crazy place in Europe. And it was very obvious. They weren't doing their homework. They weren't creating new storylines. They were just looking at my life and going, oh, let's just take what she's going through and put our little spin on it. And then ta-da, it's done and done, end quote. So that's shitty. She did mention the part about her leaving her daughter. I vaguely remember reading something about that. Didn't she like leave her daughter and with her dad? I think she chose.
I don't know. I don't remember this.
Let's look. Yes, she relinquished custody of Kaya for a period of time.
Oh, that must have been so hard.
I think it's when she was going through this. Yeah, in 2018, amidst her battle with addiction to alcohol and pills, she made the heartbreaking decision for Kaya to go live in Ukraine with her father and gave up custody. I'm not sure if she has custody now. I want to know that.
That's so sad.
Stand by. She still does not have custody. That's obviously devastating to hear. We hope that Hayden is doing, what's best for her in this period, her and her daughter, and just sending all the positive vibes on that front. Anyways, in 2018, her and Vladimir just continued to break up and get back together, but Hayden's mother confirmed that they had broken up again, but they're on friendly terms. And that's when Hayden started dating Brian Hickerson. Did you know who he was, Kels? Do you remember this?
That name sounds so familiar.
He's an actor and a real estate agent. I don't think he's done much. But so they started dating. She was kind of going like in and out of rehab at this time, so it was not a great time for her. But in 2020, they actually broke up after he was arrested for corporal injury on a spouse/cohabitant. So assault and intimidating a witness. So there was obviously some alleged domestic violence and abuse going on. And
Awful.
then, I know, also just in 2023, it's still pretty fresh, Hayden lost her younger brother, Jansen, who died at the age of 28 from aortic valve complications from enlarged heart syndrome. And I think we as a public could tell from some media appearances that she did shortly after this that her and her brother were very close, and she was understandably taking his passing very, very hard.
I remember seeing her news interviews, and I would have to like scroll by really quickly because it would make me so sad.
Hard to watch.
It's so hard to watch. So she goes through this really difficult time, and she's dealing with all of these different kinds of personal tragedies. But we wanted to end this on a more positive note. So obviously, besides just being the queen of the screen, Hayden also became deeply involved in environmental activism, particularly ocean conservation. And if anybody listening knows me, you know I want to be a mermaid so badly. So love her for this. Poor Mary has had to walk up and down beaches with me while I look for seashells.
I love it.
She's a sheller. And Hayden got involved with a couple different organizations focusing on protecting whales and dolphins. We love that.
Aww.
Mary also knows about my obsession with orca whales in particular. And Hayden's very passionate about this cause, particularly like dolphin hunting that happens in some parts of the world. They're very smart, beautiful creatures, and she wanted to stand up against some of these like mass slaughters that happen. But her activism sometimes put her in really dangerous situations. I think a lot of times we see sort of these conflicts between people who may be hunting some animals and the conservationists, and she really put herself at risk. But she said that her platform gives her a responsibility to speak up, and I think that's very honorable. So when we look at Hayden's career through this lens as a whole, I mean, we see her take us through all of these different eras of pop culture, right? She starts during the soap opera boom in the 90s. She becomes this teen pop star in the mid 2000s. Then she's the face of appointment TV boom in the mid 2000s. Then she goes on to establish herself as this serious dramatic actress with Nashville. And it's just really amazing how throughout this evolution, she stayed true to herself. An NBC executive, Jeff Zucker, reflected on Hayden's career, and he said that she continued to challenge herself with different roles, and she used her platform responsibly. That's rare in this business. And I think that's especially admirable given all of the personal struggles that she was going through at the time, that she never lost sight, that she had an opportunity with this incredible platform that she had. Television critic Alan Sepinwall said that from Heroes to Nashville, Hayden proved she was more than just a pretty face or a former child star. She brought depth and authenticity to every role, and she wasn't afraid to show her character's flaws and complexities. And Hayden herself, you know, she reflects on her journey by saying that how incredibly fortunate she was to work across so many different genres and mediums. It's not often that you go from like a record-busting Pixar film to a Lifetime movie to being on a hit TV show. She really has seen it all in this industry. It seems like in recent years, Hayden has been much more selective about her projects. She's choosing to focus on herself, on motherhood. She has made some occasional appearances in films and TV shows, and she's just been really candid about the phase of life that she's in now. She's in a different place. Her daughter's her priority. She is grateful that she's able to be more selective about the projects that she takes on, really going for that quality over quantity approach. But she is returning to acting with some projects like Amber Alert, which is a 2024 thriller movie. Did you see that one, Mare?
I didn't, but I want to watch it now. It wasn't on my radar until preparing for this.
It sounds scary AF. She plays a mother whose daughter goes missing. So back in that dramatic genre that she does so well. She has said, you know, if the right project comes along and something speaks to me, then I'll do it. But, you know, she's really just choosing those projects that feel meaningful to her. And what a gift to be able to do that as an actor.
I just hope she's like healthy and, you know,
totally
in a good place mentally and being able to see her daughter. And, you know, Hayden's story is just an example of what it means to grow up in the entertainment industry. She's experienced the highest of highs and faced significant personal struggles that played out, you know, right in front of all of us in the public eye. As Hayden herself has said, this industry can chew you up and spit you out, especially if you start young. But I've learned that authenticity and honesty are the only way to survive in this business. And her longtime agent at CAA, Brian Lord, summed her career up this way. Hayden Panettiere has had one of the most interesting and varied careers of any actor of her generation. She's reinvented herself multiple times, always with grace and professionalism. She's a true survivor in this business. And so today, when we think about Hayden Panettiere, we think about Claire Bennett and Save the Cheerleaders, Save the World. We think about Wake Up Call and that perfect mid-2000s pop moment. We think of her powerful performances on Nashville, her advocacy work, and her strength. And as Hayden recently reflected, quote, "I'm proud of the work I've done and the causes I've supported. If my career has shown anything, it's that you can reinvent yourself, you can overcome struggles, and you can use your platform to make a difference. That's what I hope people remember about my journey," end quote. How powerful.
Oh, I love Hayden.
I know. So if you had time, which none of us do, and you could binge something Hayden this weekend, what would you choose?
Probably Nashville.
Over Heroes?
Oh, maybe Heroes. They both sound like they were amazing.
I'm going to watch Amber Alert.
Oh, scary. Scary, Mary. Scary, Mary.
What is your favorite Hayden Panettiere project? Let us know. Send
Oh
us
my God, I thought you were asking me. I was going to be like, A Bug's Life.
A Bug's Life. Obviously, Dot is a criminally underrated queen.
Should we be here for Halloween?
As long as I'm not in front of a boy band, yes.
God, every time we see O-Town, I laugh thinking about how I wanted to go to their concert on Halloween in a costume dressed
On
up as a
stage.
gerbil. Well, I didn't know we were going to be on stage, but how funny would that have been?
Well, thank God I am a stick in the mud when it comes to costumes.
Oh, she saved my life. She really did. Anyways, please let us know if you like this episode by leaving us a review, 5 stars, and DM us what you want to hear from us next. And just a reminder, you will not get a new episode this coming Monday. Because we're going to be in Vegas, we'll be live posting from the ground. So
Like that weekend, you'll start getting some episodes
weekend.
from us.
So watch this space.
And have a great 4th of July. And I hope you get the day off and recharge your batteries.
And everybody wish Mary a happy birthday.
No.
Yeah,
it's not
her
happening.
It's her birthday.
Does this
Listen,
come out on my birthday? No.
But it's before, right?
Right. Oh, yeah, the day before. It comes out
The day before. My dad always says turning another year older beats the alternative.
My dad says something similar to that too. And it's a valid point. It is a valid point at this day and age. We got to be grateful for the years we get, right?
With the people we get to spend them with. Yes. Amen to that. With that, we're going to leave you guys on a positive note. Thanks so much for listening.
Bye.
Bye.